Hi, my name is Wojtek Wodzicki. I'm the CEO of NGEx Minerals. NGEx Minerals is a Lundin Group exploration company. We're active in South America, Chile, and Argentina. We're listed on the TSX Venture as NGEx. Current market cap is around $460 million Canadian. And our key asset is the Los Helados Project, which is located in Chile, and it's one of the largest undeveloped copper gold deposits in the world. And it's a key strategic resource in the Vicuña district, where our sister companies, Filo Mining and Jose Maria Resources, are also active.
Brilliant. Good to meet you, Wojtek. Thanks for coming on the show. We've not spoken before, and I've not actually heard this story before, so I'm looking forward to it. And we've also spoken to the sister companies that you've spun out of, but let's go back to the beginning, right? Seems like August, September, not many people have heard of you, but you've been around for a while. So maybe take us back to the spin out and why it's been so quiet up until September of last year.
Yeah, no, there's a really cool story, I think, with NGEx that I think really illustrates the value that exploration creates in the mining industry. I mean, I'm an exploration geologist by training, so I really believe in exploration and the value it can create. And I think we're a great example of that. So NGEx started in 2008 as a company called NGEx Resources, market cap of around $40 million, and 3 grassroots exploration projects, which grew into Los Helados, Jose Maria, and Filo del Sol. And we did a series of spinouts from that original NGEx, first Filo Mining in 2016, and then Jose Maria Resources in 2019. And those 3 spinouts, or the kind of the separation of the company into 3, the original company into 3 public companies, has created around $2.6 billion worth of value using 2008 and our 40 million market cap at that time as a starting point. So, NGEx holds that Los Helados project, and I guess, it had been for a number of years overshadowed in the overall portfolio by Filo and some of the work that we were doing at Jose Maria. And so I think when we spun it out, people had maybe forgotten about it a little bit, and it was a little bit of an unknown. And so I think that accounts for the initial, I would say, undervaluation of it. And obviously, since August, September 2021, we've been working hard to bring attention to the project, and I think that's been a successful effort. And I think you've seen that in the share price performance.
Well, yeah, I assume you raised about $25 million back in October. I assume you were bouncing around the market telling a story that will have helped the understanding and recognition. But you used a phrase that was sort of, it's kind of amazing when I look at the numbers. Overshadowed by Jose Maria and Filo del Sol, you've got 17.6 billion pounds of copper. You've got 10 million ounces of gold. You've got 92 million ounces of silver. Hard to believe that you could be overshadowed with numbers like that. So is there something wrong that we need to know about?
No, timing is everything. And I think investor attention a lot of times is fleeting to the next shiny object. And I think, a lot of what happened was, a lot of the drilling and kind of the exploration results, which drive a lot of the share price action in companies like this were done, between 2012 and 2015. And, if you remember, that was a time of declining copper prices when, a lot of major companies were saying, we've got all the copper we need. I don't think we'll be building any new projects. And so, I think we kind of issued those initial results into a little bit of a void. And then, obviously the climate now and the view on copper is completely different. And I think it was just a question of timing. I think if we had been drilling Los Helados off today, it'd be a different story and a valuation, that's significantly different. But to me, that explains that mismatch in value that we saw 6 months ago.
Right. So people are more aware of it. The big numbers, as we've said, but you're also using the language of being an explorer in the PowerPoints that and announcements I've read, right? And you're an exploration geologist. So what are you doing? Because there's a 16,000. You talk about a 16,000 meter drill program coming up. What question are you trying to answer with all of that?
Well, the key to the economics of these big resources is always your starter material, your highest grade material. So, there's a overall, there's a 2 billion ton indicated resource, another billion tons of inferred on top of that. But what's key to the economics is the highest grade, two or 300 million tons. And our drill spacing through the deposit is pretty even. And the initial drilling was designed to test out to the limits of 3 billion tons. And so one of the things that we need to do is we need to understand the geometry, the limits, and hopefully potential extensions of that high grade core better. So the drill program that we're doing right now is intended to do that. It's intended to be extensions of that initial high grade zone. But as strange as it may sound, there's an exploration component to that drill program, because these high grade zones within this kind of system can actually have a fairly small footprint. And they, as strange as it may sound, they can be kind of hidden within, or sort of hidden within the existing drill pattern. And so, what we have are a number of zones outside of the known high grade zone where we feel like maybe we've tagged into the edge of something, and we've got geophysics and other vectors that are pointing us to certain areas that are under drilled, that have the potential and have the signature of additional high grade zones. So our drill program is designed to test both of those things, both to define the high grade zone that we already know about, and then to test a couple of areas kind of within the broader system footprint for other potential high grade.
Okay, so your drilling is about trying to better understand where the high grade, if there's more high grade material that can be included. So you're trying to make the future development and production more efficient. So that's why you're still using the exploration badge.
Yeah. And the situation, for those in the audience that may be more familiar with one of our sister companies, Filo Mining, they were in a very similar situation 2 years ago, where they had drilled out the upper part of that deposit. They've done a pre-feasibility study on it, and then they launched an exploration program at depth along strike. And people are like, "Whoa, wait a minute! Don't you already have a pre-feasibility study? Why are you doing?" And it was because we recognized the potential for exactly what we're proposing, looking for at Los Helados: smaller, higher grade, kind of concentrated zones that could have sneaked in between the existing drill pattern. And that approach was extremely successful at Filo and led to the whole 41 breccia, which is what has really driven that share price. And we're seeing, I can't promise that we're going to see the same sorts of grades, but in general terms, we're seeing that same sort of potential for smaller footprint, concentrated zones, sort of within the broader system that we've identified.
So, I mean, you at the moment you're talking about average grade about like 0.5%, right? That seems to be the sort of number. And I've seen some drill numbers out there which suggest that maybe it goes up to 0.7, which again is in as a percentage is significant. But if you're saying that you didn't pick them up the first time, how much was how big was the drill spacing with the drilling that you've done today?
Yeah, the nominal, the average drill spacing through that defined the 3 billion tons is probably, like, it averages out at probably 100 meters spacing. When we get into the, some of the more densely drilled areas, it's somewhere around 75 meters. And then to give you a sense for it, the footprint of one of these high grade zones in a lot of different systems, is a diameter of 100 meters or 150 meters. And when you're talking about a mineralized column of 1,000 or 1,200 meters, that small footprint is a lot of tons.
Right. Well, that's where I was getting. I say, because you've got to do the arbitrage between delaying moving the project forward and finding, much higher grades and a lot of contained metal, because that's the gig here, because it tells you where you start, because the land package is big with the 17.6 billion pounds is a lot, and knowing when to start is going to be important to you in the early years. So how quickly, how much, you're 16,000 meters that I've read, there may be more. You've just started. So how long is that program going to take?
That 16,000 meter program is about a 4-month drill program. So we started out with 2 rigs. We're adding 2 rigs this week and next week. So right now the plan, if everything goes well, is to finish that 16,000 meters, say by the end of April.
Right. Okay. To what? To give you the data. How long are assays taking to get back to you? How quickly can you assess the data?
Yeah, we're from the completion of a drill hole to full assays for that drill hole is typically a month.
Oh, right. So, why so quick? Why are you able to get them done so quickly?
Well, that's sort of an average. That's just sort of an average time. Yeah.
Okay, so we've been hearing much longer numbers across Chile, and with regards to the work, the drilling that you're doing at the moment, obviously no problems with infrastructure and so forth, because it's quite simple stuff. But at the point when you guys have assessed this data, worked out where you're going to start, raised the money to do so, how comfortable is the company or the group feeling about Chile as a place to do business? We get that it's a big copper center, has been for a long time, but politics is involved. The environmental component is a big part of this now. Water is a big part of this now. Are you taking that into consideration whilst you're
for sure
going ahead?
There isn't an easy answer to it. I think there's definitely uncertainty with the constitutional process that's ongoing in Chile. I guess but we're confident in the long term. Like, this is a huge part of Chile's economy. It's been a stable and extremely successful mining country. I think what's really at question here is the internal distribution of the wealth that mining has brought to the company. Like, there's no question that it's been good for the country. The way that the industry has been designed and regulated has brought in a huge amount of investment, which has benefited the overall kind of economy. The issue is how that's been distributed internally among the population. And I think, a lot of this constitutional process is about deciding, kind of how that's going to be distributed. But I don't think that we don't think that it's going to lead to a fundamental reordering of a system that's worked extremely well for the country for the last 40 years. So I think we're confident that, there'll be some ups and downs, and I think, it's reasonable to expect taxes might go up, but I think we're going to end up somewhere that the industry can live with.
That seems to be the message we're getting back. And then so back to more basic, more local issues. You're at what altitude are you?
Los Helados, like, kind of the base is around 4,300 meters. Okay. 43 to 4,400 meters. So
any challenges?
Mont Blanc.
Any challenges with that at the moment?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that it's the elevation per se, but this is a high mountain, high Andes type location. So that mostly, the biggest impact of that is weather rather than the altitude per se. So, you're in sort of an alpine environment. That said, there's lots and lots of, I would say, dozens of operations through the Andes at similar elevations. So these are not problems that are challenges that are unique to these projects. They're things that people deal with every day. Our Japanese partners at Los Helados operate a mine 15 kilometers from us at exactly the same elevation. No real problems with that.
Okay, let's get back to the drilling component. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the drill program, you get the assays back quite quickly. It's 4.5 months worth of drilling. Is there a chance at the end of that you decide to continue drilling? Yeah. I always ask that of companies which are of a certain size, because it's kind of they reach a point where they get so big that they've got to be damn sure they can finance it themselves and not rely on some outside partner coming in.
Yeah, I think the key, we'll get to a fork in the road, and it really depends on what we hit. If we hit a new high grade zone, similar to, just a brand new high grade zone, that's gonna and that'll be a good problem to have. That will require more drilling, right? That's what we're looking to have, that problem. So I think this drill program is designed to get us to tag into, hopefully into something new that's going to require a whole bunch more drilling. Yeah. But the objective here is not just more tons. The objective here is more grade. So, we're not just trying to add tons, we're trying to add grade. And if we see indications of that, if we're successful in that program, for sure, we're going to want to drill new high grade zones at a closer spacing.
You want to be a supergiant, a behemoth, a leviathan.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where you want to get to. And I mean, you kind of reminded me of something that I think is really important. When you get into these very large systems, these kind of giant, supergiant systems like Filo, like Los Helados, something extraordinary happened in that piece of the Earth's crust. Like a whole bunch of things went right. And, kind of once you've disrupted the force, if you will, to that extent, you can get a lot of surprises. And in these big systems, you tend to get positive surprises because a lot of things have already gone right there. You've got the right structure, you've got the right sort of ground preparation. At Los Helados, we already know that a lot of fluid and a lot of metal has moved through this rock, and now what we're looking for are the nuggets, or the concentrations within that overall disrupted, altered system.
Well, the other thing that solves for you, also with the higher grade component, is at altitude you're going to have a cost base which is different to that if you're lower down and near ports, etc. Obviously, but the scale kind of gives you optionality there as well. So, I mean, what's happening in and around you? Because obviously there's lots of players around you. You mentioned your Japanese partner, etc. We've interviewed a few.
Yeah, like as you know, Chile is a skinny country, right? Like it's 150 kilometers across where we are. So, although it's surprising, although we're in a high altitude location, it's actually remarkably easy to get there. Like we're, a 3-hour drive from Copiapó, which is a city of 150 to 200,000 people. That's where Lundin Mining's Candelaria operations are there. We're only 150 kilometers from a port. So, although it's a high altitude mountain location, it's really not remote. It's actually quite easy to get there, and you're close to a bunch of existing infrastructure. Our partner's mine is just down the road, and then in 3 hours you're at the Pacific coast. Which is exactly where you'd want to be exporting your concentrates.
Right. So let's come back to the question of water. If we can, I know, again, you're an exploration geologist and we're talking about, study phases and stages, etc. But you got to walk into these things with a view to the future, which is one of the biggest questions one of the most frequently submitted questions to us is water in Chile, environmental issues, lots of objection, permits take a lot longer. That's going to be a problem for most companies operating in the space. But there are a lot of companies operating and producing at the moment. So I'm not quite sure what to think. What should I think?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. I think of all of the issues that you raised, the number one challenge for everybody is water. That's the one thing you can't change. I mean, I think in terms of regulation and all of that, I mean, those are, I think what mining companies look for are just, a clear set of rules, and whatever those rules are, as long as you know what they are, you can meet them. I mean, that's our job, is to deliver projects that kind of respect the environment and take all the precautions that are needed. We can work with all of that. The one thing that we can't change is nature. We can't change where the ore deposit is. We can't change the elevation it's at. We have to deal with exactly those conditions, and water is one of them. So, I mean, I guess one of the things that mitigates that challenge for Los Helados is that, this is kind of a brownfields project. Our Japanese partners own and operate a mine that has the water supply, that has, the power supply and all of that. That's 15 kilometers away. They're already partners with us. We've in the past looked at a potential project that, that links Los Helados with Jose Maria. That's another set of infrastructure with its own water supply. So I think there's two alternatives that would for our project that would kind of mitigate some of that water risk that a pure greenfields project would have.
Okay, and again, question, Senator. I mean, how realistic is the using of seawater, or utilization of seawater without filtration?
Yeah, I mean, it's not an enormous technical challenge, and in fact, with the in the metallurgical test work that we've done in the past, and then we'll be doing more of it on the drill core that we're generating right now. We've done we've used seawater as the material, and there aren't enormous technical challenges with using it for processing. The big challenge with seawater comes with getting it there, right? Like whatever kind of water you use, whether it's desalinated water, seawater, or groundwater, somehow you've got to get it up to your plant, and that's actually the bigger challenge. A lot of the water, processed water that's used in Chile is quite saline anyway. In some cases, the seawater is actually less saline than some of the groundwater people use. So that's a challenge people have been dealing with for a long time. There are good technical solutions to it. The main thing that you have to get around is the cost of getting the water to your site.
Right. No, it's been thrown at us as a solution by some people. Not quite sure what to think.
I guess the other mitigating factor is that this is an issue that every single operation in Chile and southern Peru is dealing with. Like, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's roughly the same distance from the ocean. Everybody's probably going to be, you're in the driest desert in the world. So I think it's not a unique challenge to Los Helados. It's something that every copper producer in this region is going to have to deal with. And basically it just, whatever increases that overall cost base, probably has to be compensated for in a higher metal price to pay for these projects. You can't move the copper, like as much as you might want it to be in a region where water wasn't a problem, it isn't. 40% of the world's copper comes from the world's driest desert.
So so you raised 25 million back in October. You haven't been up to much. You haven't been burning through that at a rate of knots.
No.
Been waiting for this drill program, right? And 16,000 meters. So what depths are you drilling to?
I mean, that money raised was designed to kind of get us through that program. We're junior exploration company. I mean, we spend money. That's what we're here to do. Our job is to spend that money as efficiently as possible and get as much bang for that, for that dollar as we can. But yeah, we're comfortable with that amount that we raised, to enable us to carry out a program that we think is going to add, way more value.
Right. But your job, the question you're answering is, how do I evaluate what we've got, make it more efficient in terms of identifying more high-grade zones, and it gives us a sense of where we start, and perhaps changes the economics dramatically for you. That's the job. At the end of which you say, well, let's do some more drilling, because I think we've got some good things going on. So that's a quite easy decision to make. If it's right, I think we know enough to get going. You're going to have to go and start a whole different set of solve a different set of questions, right? You're an exploration geologist. Would you still have a role within the organization, or would you say, right, we now need to hand over to a development guy?
Yeah, my sweet spot for me and really the rest of our team's experience is from that exploration through to, say, pre-feasibility study stages, and the pre-feasibility studies at Jose Maria, some of the earlier studies we did at Los Helados, some of the early studies that we did at Filo were all done on, under my watch. I was the CEO of the companies then. So, me and the team have quite a bit of experience, I would say, through to the pre-feasibility stage. And then, typically what we would do after that is what we did at Jose Maria, which is bring in, kind of specific study guys. And then at the time when you shift to a more construction mode, exactly what we did at Jose Maria, you bring in the construction team. So, my experience level is exactly right for the stage that we're at here. And when it comes time to pass it on to somebody else, we got a deep bench in the group to do that.
That you do. You raised 25 million at 80 cents. We're sitting around $3 today. Do you take advantage of that just in case the market falls away from you again? Do you raise some money now?
We have we've got enough money. We've got no current plans to raise more equity. It's always a balancing act between, kind of raising money when you can and raising money when you desperately need it. That's something that we constantly weigh, but I'd say right now we're pretty happy where we are.
Okay. So what should we be looking out for this year? I guess the drill program, and it seems.
Yeah.
That's it.
I would say this, the sequence is, there should be a steady stream of drill results starting, I think, in late March, and kind of once the pipeline is full, they should come pretty steadily through to the middle of the year, I would say, until, through to late June, at least. We'll have steady stream of drill results from Los Helados. We'll also have drill results, probably starting in the next week or two, coming from our Valle Ancho project, which is an earlier stage exploration project that we're drilling. In the third, fourth quarter, somewhere in there, you'll see us update the resource at Los Helados based on this drilling. We'll have done a whole bunch of additional metallurgical test work, so we'll release the results of that. And then towards the end of the year, that's when we'll kind of make a decision about the next steps, which will be heavily influenced by the results of this drill program, right? If we hit something that needs more drilling, we're going to kind of continue down the drilling exploration path. If we've kind of found what we think we're going to find, then you kind of head down a more engineering mine planning path. Okay,
so just for me as an investor, I'm looking at all these drill results come out. I'm trying to work out how to play it before you make a decision towards the end of the year. If we keep getting like lots of, 0.5% type results, I suspect you'll be moving on to the next phase of studies. If we start seeing higher numbers, it would suggest that you're going to take a different course of action.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think the message I would take away from those sorts of drill results is, hey, these guys are really starting to put together, that high grade core. And that's going to drive, an eventual mine plan to something that's smaller, or smaller footprint, more selective, going after higher initial grades. Yeah.
And okay, so and we're conscious of your time here. So Valle Ancho, more copper gold, I could totally understand that, and has a reasonable, quite a large exploration package. To at some point you will start allocating time, money, and effort to that. With the Northern gold target, though, could it ever be a standalone, or is it something that's going to be sort of in your back pocket for a while because you've got enough on your plate with the copper gold stuff?
It's hard to say. Like this program, we're just completing a 9-hole program, which is really a scout drilling program. The way to think about this land package is this is very, very similar to the Los Helados Jose Maria Filo land package 15 years ago. That's exactly what we had then, kind of some interesting grassroots prospects, and we're in the initial kind of scout drilling on that. So it's hard to say which way it's going to go. But in terms of potential scale, it's very, very similar to what we started out with, on the NGEx project, the older NGEx projects. So, stay tuned. I mean, I think this first round of drill results will be a good indicator for which way that project is going to head.
For sure. Maybe if we ever talk again, we can you can come and talk about some of the other outlier projects and sort of what you're seeing with those. I appreciate you sharing the story today. It was one I wanted to try and understand. You give us some clues as to what we should be looking for as investors. So stay in touch. Let us know how you get on.
Yep. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.